Hungarian is the official language of Hungary and one of the 24 official languages of the European Union. Outside Hungary, it is also spoken by communities of Hungarian people in neighboring countries, especially in Romania, Slovakia, Serbia and Ukraine, and by Hungarian diaspora communities worldwide. Like Finnish and Estonian, it belongs to the Uralic language family, with its closest relatives being Mansi and Khanty. It is one of the few languages of Europe that are not part of the Indo-European family. The Hungarian name for the language is Magyar, Magyar Nylv. The word Magyar is also used as an English word to refer to Hungarian people as an ethnic group or to the language. History. Classification. Hungarian is a member of the Uralic language family. Linguistic connections between Hungarian and other Uralic languages were noticed in the 1670s, and the family itself was established in 1717. Though the classification of Hungarian as a Uralic, Finno-Ugric rather than Turkic language continued to be a matter of impassioned political controversy through the 18th and into the 19th centuries. Hungarian has traditionally been assigned to a Ugric branch within Uralic, Finno-Ugric, along with the Mansi and Khanty languages of Western Siberia. But it is no longer clear that this is a valid group. When the Samoyed languages were determined to be part of the family, it was thought at first that Finnic and Ugric were closer to each other than to the Samoyed branch of the family. But this position is currently considered questionable. The name of Hungary could be a result of regular sound changes of Ungarian, Ugrian, and the fact that the Eastern Slavs referred to Hungarians as Gry. Grove seem to confirm that. Current literature favors the hypothesis that it comes from the name of the Turkic tribe Onoga. There are numerous regular sound correspondences between Hungarian and the other Ugric languages. For example, Hungarian A corresponds to Khanty O in certain positions, and Hungarian Para corresponds to Khanty X, while Hungarian final Z corresponds to Khanty final T. For example, Hungarian Házhouse versus Khanty Exoti house, and Hungarian Százhundred versus Khanty Százhundred. The distance between the Ugric and Finnic languages is greater, but the correspondences are also regular. Early classification. During the later half of the 19th century, a competing hypothesis proposed a Turkic affinity of Hungarian. Following an academic debate known as Arizona Agor-Toric Habor, the Finno-Ugric hypothesis was concluded the sounder of the two, foremost based on work by the German linguist Joseph Budens. Prehistory. It is thought that Hungarian separated from its Ugric relatives in the first half of the first millennium BCE in western Siberia, east of the southern Urals. The Hungarians gradually changed the lifestyle from settled hunters to nomadic pastoralists, probably as a result of early contacts with Iranian nomads. In Hungarian, Iranian loans date back to the time immediately following the breakup of Ugric and probably span well over a millennium. Among these include Teren, cow, tis, ten, tage milk, and nad re. A small number of anthropologists disputed this theory, such as Hungarian historian and archaeologist Gyula Laszlo, who claimed that geological data from pollen analysis seems to contradict placing the ancient homeland of the Hungarians near the Urals. However, increasing archaeological evidence from present-day southern Bashkortostan found in the previous decades confirms the existence of Hungarian settlements between the Volga River and Ural Mountains. The Onogas later had a great influence on the language, especially between the 5th–9th centuries. This layer of Turkic loans is large and varied, and includes words borrowed from Oghur Turkic, e. Borhu calf Dequtel noon south. Many words related to agriculture, to state administration or even to family relations have such backgrounds. Hungarian syntax and grammar were not influenced in a similarly dramatic way during these 300 years. After the arrival of the Hungarians into the Carpathian Basin, the language came into contact with different speech communities. Turkic loans from this period come mainly from the Pechenegs and Cumanians who settled in Hungary during the 12th–13th centuries, e.g. Koboz, Kobzar, Komondor, Mopdog. Hungarian borrowed many words from especially the neighboring Slavic languages. In exchange, these languages also borrowed words from Hungarian, e.g. Serbo-Croatian ASOV from Hung ASO Spain. Approximately 1.6% of the Romanian lexicon is of Hungarian origin. Old Hungarian. The first written accounts of Hungarian, mostly personal and place names, are dated back to the 10th century. Hungarians also had their own writing system, the Old Hungarian script, but no significant texts remain from that time, as the usual medium of writing, wooden sticks, is perishable. The Kingdom of Hungary was founded in 1000 by Stephen I of Hungary. The country was a Western-styled Christian state, and Latin held an important position, as was usual in the Middle Ages. The Latin script was adopted to write the Hungarian language, and Latin influenced the language. The earliest remaining fragments of the language are found in the establishing charter of the Abbey of Tihany from 1055, mixed into Latin text. The first extant text fully written in Hungarian is the funeral sermon and prayer, written in the 1190s. The orthography of these early texts was considerably different from the one used today, but when hearing a reconstructed spoken version, contemporary Hungarians can still understand a large part of it, though both vocabulary and grammar has changed to some extent since then. More extensive Hungarian literature arose after 1300. The earliest known example of Hungarian religious poetry is the 14th-century Lamentations of Mary. The first Bible translation is the Hussite Bible from the 1430s. The standard language lost its diphthongs, and several postpositions transformed into suffixes, such as re on to. There were also changes in the system of vowel harmony. At one time, Hungarian used 6 verb tenses. Today, only 2 are commonly used. Modern Hungarian. The first printed Hungarian book was published in Krakow in 1533, by Benedek Kumjati. The work's title is Arizonasis and Pal Levelai Magyar Nyelven, i.e. the letters of St. Paul in the Hungarian language. In the 17th century, the language was already very similar to its present-day form, although 2 of the past tenses were still used. German, Italian, and French loans also appeared in the language by these years. Further Turkish words were borrowed during the Ottoman rule of part of Hungary between 1541 and 1699. In the 18th century, a group of writers, most notably Ferenc Kazantzky, began the process of language renewal. Some words were shortened, a number of dialectal words spread nationally, extinct words were reintroduced, a wide range of expressions were coined using the various derivative suffixes, and some other, less frequently used methods of expanding the language were utilized. This movement produced more than 10,000 words, most of which are used actively today. The 19th and 20th centuries saw further standardization of the language, and differences between the mutually comprehensible dialects gradually lessened. In 1920, by signing the Treaty of Trianon, Hungary lost 71% of its territory, and along with these, 33% of the ethnic Hungarian population. Today, the language is official in Hungary. Hungary, and regionally also in Romania, in Slovakia, in Serbia, in Austria and in Slovenia. Geographic distribution. Source: National Censuses. Ethnologue. Hungarian has about 13 million native speakers, of whom more than 9.8 million live in Hungary. According to the 2011 Hungarian census, 9,896,333 people speak Hungarian, of whom 9,827,875 people speak it as a first language, while 68,458 people speak it as a second language. About 2.2 million speakers live in areas that were part of the Kingdom of Hungary before the Treaty of Trianon. Of these, the largest group lives in Transylvania, the western half of present-day Romania, where there are approximately 1.25 million Hungarians. There are large Hungarian communities also in Slovakia, Serbia and Ukraine, and Hungarians can also be found in Austria, Croatia, and Slovenia, as well as about 1 million additional people scattered in other parts of the world. For example, there are more than 100,000 Hungarian speakers in the Hungarian American community and 1.5 million with Hungarian ancestry in the United States. Official status. Hungarian is the official language of Hungary, and thus an official language of the European Union. Hungarian is also one of the official languages of Vojvodina and an official language of 3 municipalities in Slovenia, Hodos, Dubrovnik and Lendava, along with Slovene. Hungarian is officially recognized as a minority or regional language in Austria, Croatia, Romania, Zakarpattia in Ukraine, and Slovakia. In Romania it is a recognized minority language used at local level in communes, towns and municipalities with an ethnic Hungarian population of over 20%. Dialects. The dialects of Hungarian identified by Ethnologue are Alfold, West Danube, Danube-Tisza, King's Pass Hungarian, Northeast Hungarian, Northwest Hungarian, Szekely and West Hungarian. These dialects are, for the most part, mutually intelligible. The Hungarian Cisango dialect, which is mentioned but not listed separately by Ethnologue, is spoken primarily in Bacău County in eastern Romania. The Cisango Hungarian group has been largely isolated from other Hungarian people, and they therefore preserved features that closely resemble earlier forms of Hungarian. Phonetics and phonology. Hungarian has 14 vowel phonemes and 25 consonant phonemes. The vowel phonemes can be grouped as pairs of short and long vowels, e, g, o and o. Most of these pairs have a similar pronunciation, only varying significantly in the duration. However, the pairs a and e acute differ both in closeness and length. Consonant length is also distinctive in Hungarian. Most of the consonant phonemes can occur as geminates. The sound-voiced palatal plosive j, written gy, sounds similar to d in British English due to it occurs in the name of the country, Magyar Ország, pronounced mj rosso. Single r per second tapped, double r per second trilled, similar to the Spanish pero and pero. Prosody. Primary stress is always on the first syllable of a word, as in the related Finnish languages and in the neighboring languages Slovak and Czech. There is secondary stress on other syllables in compounds, e.g., visontlata pronounced visontlata. Elongated vowels in non-initial syllables may seem to be stressed to the ear of an English speaker, since length and stress correlate in English. Grammar. Hungarian is an agglutinative language. It uses various affixes, mainly suffixes, but also some prefixes and a circumfix to change a word's meaning and grammatical function. Vowel harmony. Hungarian uses vowel harmony when attaching suffixes to words. This means that most suffixes have 2 or 3 different forms and the choice between them depends on the vowels of the head word. There are some minor and unpredictable exceptions to this rule. Nouns have a large number of cases, but in general they are formed regularly with suffixes. The nominative case is unmarked, and for example, the accusative is marked with the suffix -t. Half of the 18 cases express a combination of the source location, target and surface inside proximity ternary distinctions, e.g. there is a separate case ending bol, meaning a combination of source and insideness, i.e. from inside of. Possession is expressed using a possessive suffix on the possessed object and not on the possessor. Noun plurals are formed using the suffix k. However, following a numeral, the singular is used. Unlike English, Hungarian has no prepositions. Instead, it uses case suffixes and postpositions. There are 2 types of articles in Hungarian, definite and indefinite, roughly corresponding to the English equivalents. Adjectives precede nouns. They have 3 degrees: positive, comparative, and superlative. If the noun takes the plural or a case, the adjective, used attributively, does not agree with it. Apeiros almic, the red apples. However, when the adjective is used in a predicative sense, it must agree with the noun. Arizona almic pirasak, the apples are red. Adjectives in themselves can behave as nouns. Meliag almat kerad. A birasat. Which apple would you like? The red one. Verbs are conjugated according to 2 tenses, to 3 moods, to 2 numbers, to 3 persons, and to whether the object is definite. This latter feature is the most characteristic. The definite conjugation is used with a transitive verb whose object is definite, and the indefinite conjugation either for a verb with an indefinite direct object or for a verb without an object. Since conjugation expresses the person and number, personal pronouns are usually omitted, unless they are emphasized. The present tense is unmarked, while the past is formed using the suffix -tt, lat, sees, the tot, saw, past. Future may be expressed either with the present tense, or using the auxiliary verb fog together with the verb's infinitive. The indicative mood and the conditional mood are used both in the present and the past tenses. Conditional past is expressed using the conjugated past form and the auxiliary word volna. The imperative mood is used only with the present tense. Verbs have verbal prefixes, also known as coverbs. Most of them define direction of movement. Some verbal prefixes give an aspect to the verb, such as the prefix make, which generally marks delicity. Word order. The neutral word order is subject-verb-object. However, Hungarian is a topic-prominent language, which means that word order does not only depend on syntax, but also on the topic-comment structure of the sentence. A Hungarian sentence generally has the following order: topic, comment, verb, other parts. Putting something into the topic means that the proposition is only stated for the particular thing or aspect, and implies that the proposition is not true for some others. For example, in the sentence, Arizona alma janos laja, the apple is in the topic, implying that other objects may not be seen by him, but by other people. The topic part may be empty. Putting something in the focus means that it is the new information for the listener that they may have not known, or where the knowledge must be corrected. For example, in the sentence, En vagyok Arizona apad. For the movie Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, the pronoun I is in the focus, implying that this is new information, and the listener thought that another person is his father. Note that sometimes this is described as Hungarian having free word order. Even though different word orders are generally not interchangeable and the neutral order is not always correct to use. Besides word order, intonation is also different with different topic comment structures. The topic usually has a rising intonation and the focus has a falling intonation. In the following examples, the topic is marked with italics and the focus with boldface. Janoslaja Arizona Almat. John sees the apple. Neutral sentence. Janoslaja Arizona Almat. John does see the apple, but Peter may not. Janoslaja Arizona Almat. It is John who sees the apple. The listener may have thought it was Peter. Janos Arizona Almat Laja. What John sees is the apple. It is specifically the apple that John sees and not the pear. By contrast, Peter may see the pear. Arizona Almat Laja Janos. The apple is indeed seen by John, or more exactly, considering the apple, it is seeing what happens to it by John, but the pear may not be seen by him. Arizona Almat Janos Laja. It is by John that the apple is seen. It is not by Peter, but the pear may be seen by Peter. Politeness. Hungarian has a four-tiered system for expressing levels of politeness. Use of this form in speech shows respect towards the person addressed, but it is also the common way of speaking in official texts and business communications. Here, you, the second person, is grammatically addressed in the third person. Maga. Use of this form serves to show that the speaker wishes to distance themselves from the person they address. A boss could also address a subordinate as maga. Aside from the different pronoun, it is grammatically the same as onazes. Ne acute ni baksa. This is a somewhat affectionate way of expressing politeness and is grammatically the same as onazes or magazodas, but adds a certain verb in auxiliary role tetslik to support the main verb of the sentence. For example, children are supposed to address adults who are not close friends by using tetslik hojavaji. Here becomes hojatetsik leni. The elderly, especially women, are generally addressed this way, even by adults. Te, used generally, i.e., with persons with whom none of the above forms of politeness is required, and, in religious contexts, to address God. Interestingly, the highest rank, the king, was traditionally addressed by all, peasants and noblemen alike, though with Hungary not having had any crowned king since 1918, this practice survives only in folk tales and children's stories. Use of tejazes in the media and advertisements has become more frequent since the early 1990s. It is informal and is normally used in families, among friends, colleagues, among young people, and adults speaking to children. It can be compared to addressing somebody by the first name in English, perhaps prompted by the widespread use of English on the internet. Tejazes is also becoming the standard way to address people over the internet, regardless of politeness. The four-tiered system has somewhat been eroded due to the recent expansion of tejazades. Some anomalies emerged with the arrival of multinational companies who have addressed their customers in the te form right from the beginning of the presence in Hungary. A typical example is the Swedish furniture shop IKEA, whose website and other publications address the customers in te form. When a news site asked IKEA, using the te form, why they addressed the customers this way, IKEA's PR manager explained in his answer, using the on form, that the way of communication reflects IKEA's open-mindedness and the Swedish culture. However, IKEA in France used the most polite form. Another example is the communication of Telenor towards its customers. Telenor chose to communicate towards business customers in the polite on form, while all other customers are addressed in the less polite te form.